a new moon reading. I hope that everybody is having a fabulous day. I hope that this message finds you well. We are going ahead and clearing our energy. I just got done doing a reading on TikTok, so we want to make sure that you guys are getting your own individual messages. That was a weekly reading. This is a new moon reading, so there's going to be some overlap, but there's also going to be a lot of a lot of different messages that come through because this is dealing with a longer period of time. Also, all of these messages are timeless, so they're going to have things that are relevant for people when they find them. And that's my favorite part about tarot readings, oracle card readings, divination in general, because time is an artificial construct. It does not exist. Still another one of those. That one didn't get a good. There we go. All right. And for anyone who doesn't know, our tuning fork is 528 hertz, which has lots of amazing healing properties. You could do a quick Google search, or I know it's linked like a pop-up bubble fact in one of the other videos, but generally good for relieving stress, balancing your nervous system, all of the good things. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and get into it, and we are going to use the Witch's Wisdom Oracle deck to start off with. Shout out to anybody who is joining us from over live on TikTok. You guys are the best. Shout out to everybody who's been engaging with my various forms of content, not just my readings, but also music and just funny observations. I don't know, skits. I don't know what the word for what I be doing. Clowning. I don't know. It's not. We'll come up for it, but we'll come up with it. But let's see what energies they have for us. Herbal Kitchen, Alchemist. Okay. And Lady Goddess Feminine. Okay. So my first thought when it comes to alchemy is in one of my previous readings, I talked about the alchemy that it took for enslaved individuals to take the intestines of pigs, the part of the pig that processes all of the waste out, and to be able to alchemize that into something edible. There were often the women within within our culture who were doing that. So there's something to be said about our feminine energy and its ability to alchemize negatives within our reality and turn that into positives. And we want to be mindful of that within ourselves, and also mindful of the ways in which we honor everything that is perceived as feminine on this planet. So when it comes down to, herbal kitchen, and then we also have Lady Goddess Feminine. So, they're always talking about how, the kitchen is a woman's place, but there is something to be said for kitchen witching. There's something to be said for the divine magic that comes from taking ingredients that have certain energies and potencies, and infusing it with your own intention, loving intention, healing intentions, high vibrational intentions. And how often within our society these types of things are taken for granted. The fact that the earth grows so many different types of herbs for us is just kind of taken for granted, especially when, capitalism encourages deforestation and so forth. And so there are so many species that are being lost and dying off that we will never truly understand what they could have done for us. So many even things that do exist to this day because of the history of colonialism and, things like the burning of the Library of Alexandria and just, slaying of elders, separating families and not allowing knowledge to be passed down in succinct lineages, has created this dystopian effect where a lot of that knowledge has been lost. And so there is something to be said for the fact that nothing is ever truly lost. And by tapping into Mama Gaia and by tapping into our divine feminine ancestral forces, we can tap into a lot of these ancient remedies and recipes. Because this is the thing, they didn't learn the properties of plants from books. They learned the properties of plants from experimentation, because someone had to be the first person to realize that chamomile makes you relax. And that wasn't a book knowledge, that was a relational knowledge. So we are predisposed to think that the only way that we can learn things is through this very 3D textbook, patriarchal, sit down and read it type of learning process. But children learn best through play. Children learn best through tactile, physical things. So we want to make sure that when it comes to our ancestral and our learning, because a perfect anecdote for that is George Washington Carver, and all of the magnificent things George Washington Carver was able to do with peanuts. If you listen to interviews or read, him talking about how he made these discoveries, he said that the plants would speak to him. He would sit and operate in meditation and be like, "Hey, plant, what are you good for?" And he would get certain downloads and intuitions, and in him trying and experimenting with these things, they were found to be true. So as we are further removed from our divine feminine energy, which exists between all of us, male and female, but it's mostly just the part of us that believes in raw possibility. Divine feminine energy gets a lot of negative flack as being chaotic, but the thing about chaos is that darkness is where the fullest potential for all of creation exists. It's like a stem cell. Before it becomes a differentiated cells, it is pure potential. It can be whatever the intention is for it to be, but then also whatever the necessity is for it to be. And so that is a lot of what feminine energy is. It is what is needed in any given point in time to be the coalescing, connecting factor. So as we're talking about herbal kitchen and alchemy, we're also talking about the process. There's a pestle, there's a mortar and pestle on here. So that makes me think about the phrase the grind, and how we are taught, and how often potential is released by hardship. It's like in Harry Potter, I don't know which particular one, it's the sixth one. It's when Harry was really good at potions and Hermione was not jocking that ish. And essentially, she was talking about, one of the instructions was like, oh, she was cutting the whatever they were trying to add the ingredient to, and Harry was pressing it, and pressing it released the juices better. So there's something to be said for pressure and for the alchemizing process of refinement, and for the whole idea of putting your nose to the grindstone, and understanding that transformation often requires it always requires some change in the state, which is usually, if not internally stimulated, then externally stimulated. So it's like, if you are, and all of the different elements release the energies in different ways. You can grind an herb, and that's going to give you a different result than if you light that herb, which is going to give you a different result than if you make that herb into tea, which is going to give you a different result. And so there's something to be said for understanding not only the alchemy inherent within the herbs that we're using, the stones that we're using, the spices and the ingredients that we're using when it comes to cooking. It is also important to understand the preparation method and how much that can influence the outcome. Everybody does healing differently. Some people find that they do their best healing with water. Some people are like, I need to go to the river and sit there, and that is what invigorates me. Some people like a fire pit, some people like to watch the flames dance and, release things that way. Some people like to give offerings to the river. Some people like to do burnt offerings, or when they are seeking to release something, they burn it. There are also people who, will speak things into reality, things that they want to. They will use the air principle in their throat chakra, and the expanding and compacting of sound waves to influence the ethers in that way. And then there are also the ground people who are going to use herbs and stones and so forth. And so it is about finding which principle works best for you. And it's whether you are trying to bring something in, whether you are trying to rid yourself of something. It is going to be different depending on it's going to be different depending on what works for you. And what works for you can be as simple as, a lot of times it's tied to your chart. If you are a water dominant person, you might be more prone to being healed by water. If you are a fire sign person, you might need to go out and sit in the sun. You might need to do a little bit of exercise, fiery activities. It's not only necessarily working with the element itself, but more so the energies of the element. So if you are an air sign person, you might heal best by communicating, whether that's journaling, whether that is expressing it in some sort of way to get it out. Healing is a lot of times about, so before actual restitution and healing can take place, the negative element needs to be removed. So we often think of healing as like a one-step process, like, when you scrape your arm and it's like, oh, well, you just let it heal. But a lot of times when we are healing, it is because when we are in need of healing, it is because there are foreign objects in our energy field. There is trauma from your childhood in your heart chakra, or there is generational sexual trauma in your sacral chakra. There is, blockages about trusting your intuition in your third eye because somebody in your bloodline or you in a previous lifetime was burned for being a witch. So until we remove these foreign bodies, we're going to be doing maladaptive healing. That's like if you've got a bullet in you and then you could either remove the bullet or leave the bullet in, but it's going to heal better if you remove the bullet. It's going to be cleaner. It's going to allow the tissues to reform without scar tissue. It is going to allow the shattered muscles and ligaments to return to full functionality. Whereas if you keep that bullet in there, you might not die, but it's not going to heal to the same level of functionality. So as we are thinking about healing, we want to think of it in a two-step process where we are first ridding ourselves of the negative energy, and that can be done through talk therapy, that can be done through just various means of unlearning, reprogramming your subconscious. But you have to eliminate the negative beliefs. You have to it's like if you're trying to plant seeds, you cannot plant seeds into spaces of earth where there are already things rooted and growing and planted, because not only you're not giving that seed the best chance for survival, because you are putting it in an environment where there's going to be competition. So now, instead of having an open space to spread out its roots and fully grow, it is going to be limited and competing with other root systems of larger things for nutrients and for nurture. And so we want to make sure that within ourselves, when we are attempting to plant new seeds, new thought processes, new workout routines, whatever new we are seeking to draw into our existence. And that is why the balance of the new moon, full moon cycle is so important, because the full moon is the ebbing, it is the drawing out. And the new moon is the blank space. It is the absence of light. It is the darkness that allows for the implantation of ideas and principles to come to fruition. And so in the duality of that process, in that ebb and flow, you have the general principles of all reality. But beyond that, you have the secrets to growth. And essentially, we want to make sure that we are clearing away, alchemizing the negative, and then, because nature abhors a vacuum, we want to replace the negative things that we have drawn out with positive things. It's like after you do a fast or a detox, and your body gets rid of all of the negative things, most times people then want to eat healthy, so that the space that has been cleared of negative energies and gunk, bacteria, whatever, can now be infused with vitamins, minerals, and it's everything is everything. So we can take that principle and we can apply it across the board. If you've got a cut, you want to wash out all the dirt and debris, and then you maybe want to add, if you do Western medicine, you might want to add some Neosporin. If you do traditional, you might want to add a little coconut oil. You might want to add whatever, but it's usually a removing the negative. It's removing the negative and then infusing the positive. And so we want to make sure that we are being mindful as we are in this new moon in Gemini energy about what we are alchemizing, what we are allowing our feminine energy to receive, and how we are then utilizing that energy. What are we doing with the things that we are receiving? When people throw you shade, what are you doing with that? Are you alchemizing it and letting it roll off your back? Or are you internalizing it and letting it sit and fester and become a blockage, become sand in the wound? Are we allowing these things? Or are we letting it? Are we taking the time, even when, because this is the thing, life is messy. And that's why there's no such thing as absolute healing or there's no such thing as perfection, because You could be having a really, really good day and you could walk outside and somebody could be horrible to you for no reason related to you. Something's going on with them, some whatever, but it can have nothing to do with you. And now you have a choice about when the person threw that energy at you, you have a choice. Do you receive it and now allow it to contort your energy field? So now you were in a good mood. Now they were in a bad mood. You interacted with them. They're in a bad mood. You're in a good mood. Now you're in a bad mood. That's too much power to give that person with a bad mood. That's way too much power to give that bad energy, especially because it takes more, it is much more difficult to have a low vibrational frequency affect a high vibrational frequency than it is for a high vibrational frequency to affect a low vibrational frequency, which means it is much easier for you to maintain your frequency and maybe even uplift that person's frequency than it is for them to lower yours from a purely energetic standpoint. But a lot of times we are so used to being in combative, confrontational energy with people that when they direct stuff at us, we immediately bolster our defenses. We immediately start to feel attacked and we immediately start to look for ways to either defend ourselves, whatever your fight, freeze, fawn, flight response is. And a lot of times the best thing that we can do is just go, take a deep breath and immediately think about whatever you were thinking about before this interaction. What was I was having a good day. I was excited about going to the store. I was excited about, this new show that dropped. I was excited about this new thing that I created. I was excited to go walk my dog. I was excited that it's sunny today and it's been rainy. You were excited about something. Go back to that. Do not let negative Nancy's and people who would not know joy, if it knocked on their door and said, hi, I've been trying to contact you about your car's extended warranty, like they wouldn't know joy if it lived in their house with them. That's how much they don't even know the people that live at their house. Anyway, they don't know joy. Don't let people who do not know themselves, who do not know joy, who do not know love, to get you to join them on their frequency. We are alchemizing that. We are alchemizing that all 25, all Gemini season, all within the energy of this new moon. We are definitely in a principle that says, nah, you shall not pass bad vibes, like, because you have the power. And once again, that's what tools are for. It isn't always necessarily something that can be done with our conscious mind, which is why we have the tools of alchemy, which is why we have crystals to protect our energy. There are, ones that block or draw out negative energies. There are ones that infuse positive energies. That's why we have herbs, because a lot of times these things can be unsettling to your nervous system. And so they can cause physical responses. And so somebody got you revving a little bit high and the deep breath didn't work necessarily. That's when you go and you get you a herbal tea. That's when you go and you smoke you a joint. Whatever your personal alchemical process is, as long as it is being used medicinally and within moderation and you are respecting it for its ability to influence and work with you and you're showing gratitude to it, go and swim and go and hit the sauna, go and get a workout. There are tons of different ways to alchemize energy when people are directing it at you, because the divine feminine is rising. And as that is happening, those of us who are energetically sensitive, and even people who didn't think they were previously energetically sensitive, are receiving things at a different level. And so we, as our sensitivity is increasing, we want to make sure that we are able to alchemize that we are able to, keep our system running as cleanly as possible. So, it's like If you've got a Ferrari, you're going to you're going to treat it like the high performance system that it is, and that's what you are. You are a high performance system. So you want to make sure that you are doing your oil changes, which means that you are staying hydrated. And not saying that you can't, have a drink, have a soda here and there. I'm not the police. I am not going to show up at your door. No one's going to show up at your door. It's just about, you have to be honest with yourself about how these things make you feel and how they interact with your system. And then the choice is yours. You can get with this or you could get with that. You could get with this or you could get with that. It's a choose your own adventure novel, but there are going to be consequences if you know that you're hungover and you're a little bit dehydrated and you got to go and be outside and you choose not to drink water. You choose to drink a soft drink over water. In that instance, that's going to have a consequence, but it's not the end of the world. Wombat spirit, be at home. So we have herbal kitchen, we have alchemist, we have feminine energy, we have be at home. All of these things are, Cancerian energy in terms of home, which is linked to feminine energy. We have lady goddess, feminine, herbal kitchen, be at home. What I'm taking from this is be at home, find the home within yourself. Find the home within yourself, because when you create that safe space, that is another thing that allows us to better alchemize the outside world. Because when you have a wonderful safe space to return to, it makes going out into the world not that bad of a thing. So when you that feeling when you just cooked a really good meal, your house smells good, it's clean, you don't have nothing to do but just relax and enjoy it. It's a lot easier to brush off somebody's negativity directed at you if you have that to go home to. If you're out, but if you're out and you have a list of things to do at home when you get home, and it's another layer to the stress, then that is going to completely affect how you perceive it. The interaction is going to be the exact same, but your perception of it is going to be worse, because in one instance it's going to be like, oh man, this is just one thing on top of everything else. And in another instance, it's going to be like, you know what, this is just a blip in the radar. And we have the capacity. Okay, also what I'm getting from this, because I'm like, I don't even know anything about wombats, but I'm pretty sure that they are native to Australia. And so in me thinking about the fact that their home is in Australia, be at home also means being able to be at home in completely savage environments, and knowing that true safety, true protection, true courage is not always avoiding spaces where you will be vulnerable or, you might receive some sort of negative backlash. It is about understanding that those places and those spaces will not break you. It is about, Gemini season also has the added duality of adaptability. It's like you can get either twin, and both of those twins got different tools in their tool belt. And so there's something to be said about being able to be at home, whether you are in the Australian outback or you are in a 5-star luxury suite, I don't know, in Dubai. I don't know. I'm like, where's the luxurious place that has, is being lauded to us right now? So 5-star, you need to be able to be just as home in a 5-star hotel in Dubai as you are in the Australian outback. And that comes down to your ability to alchemize. You have to develop, you have to adapt to that environment. So it's like, if you know that you are going into a job where you know, you got that one coworker and they're hella stank, and they're stank every time you work with them, and there's nothing you can do about it. Put a protection crystal in your pocket. Keep you some herbal, some lavender, some herbal light shoes, some incense, like, do whatever you can to, in the time period, protect yourself. Also pay that person no mind. Attention is the most powerful currency on the planet, and you would be surprised how far ignoring them will go. Because this is the thing, people do those type of things because you usually react in a way that makes them feel some sort of powerful in their little itty bitty state within themselves. So ignore them. It's you have the ultimate control over your mind, and if you don't, then you should be concerned about that and look into what is controlling your mind. If it's not you, but you have ultimate control over your mind and your attention. So you have the ability to withdraw attention from circumstances, from things that are distractions, from things that are not serving your highest and greatest good. Like, if you are in an environment like the Outback, you do not have time for distractions. You are focused on survival, which means your head is on a swivel, which means that you are only focused on the things that truly matter. And that person being miserable in whatever they're saying in 50 years, you will not remember. You won't. This isn't, they're not that powerful. You will not remember unless you think about it every day and you ruminate on it and you go, oh, I remember the time, and you tell everybody you know, then you will remember it. Because look at how much attention you gave to it. Look at how important you made it. Look at how much you magnified it with your own energy. Or you could just go, whoo, you are miserable and having a bad day. I'm grateful that I am not you. And then you just walk on. But that's why we have our tools, so that we can be at home in whatever environment we are in. I'll give a personal anecdote because I'm being called to. When I first moved down here, I was living in a hostile environment where people were doing witchcraft on me and all sorts of things. People were doing witchcraft on spells, all sorts of things. And I had no place else to go but that environment for the duration of the time that my lease was leasing. And so I learned the most about alchemizing negative energy. I learned the most about energetic protection in that time because I could not remove myself. So all I could do was, fortify the defenses, was batten down the hatches. So I was taking spiritual baths regularly. When I couldn't do a full spiritual bath, I was doing faux spiritual baths where I was dissolving Epsom salt into water, and then using that to cleanse myself. I was lighting protective candles. I was keeping all of my crystals on me. I was smudging and Palo Santoing my space every day. I was burning dragon's blood and camphor like it was going out of style. I was doing sound healing meditations every day. And you know what? I made it out of that situation unscathed. Not only unscathed, but better, much better, infinitely better for the wear in all of the things that the people were trying to do to me. Look at who it happened to. It wasn't me. Not me and my ancestors, not over here. And so there's something to be said for being able to be in the trenches, because you know we're the strongest soldiers. We're the chosen. We're the strongest soldiers. And I don't know if anybody's looked outside, but the spiritual warfare is at a crazy all-time level. People are not okay, and more so than people not being okay, they're constantly being programmed with this frequency of fear, which is making them even more volatile than ever. And so when we are in volatile situations, when we are out here being the light in the darkness, we need to make sure we have all our tools in our utility belt. Batman don't leave the house without his grappling hook, bro. He don't leave the house without the grappling hook. He can't fly. He's not Superman. So understanding our limitations, we that's why the Most High gave us tools. That's why the Most High gave us tools. You know, it's like if you know that you are going into an environment with sick people, bolster your immune system. Make sure that you are washing your hands. That is a perfect analogy. We are, as people who are seeking to heal, and as people who are in varying degrees of health along the spectrum, we are in an environment with deeply sick people who have no desire to heal and whose greatest ambition is to transfer their sickness to you. People be miserable, and misery loves company. People be miserable, and misery loves company. So if they can infect you with the low vibration, they will. So, you know, it's like, yes, we would like to be able to quarantine the sick people, but it's too large of a portion of society. 90% of people out here are unwell on some level, whether we are talking mentally, physically, or spiritually. People are deeply unwell. And so when you understand that to be the case, you also understand that you have got to, you know how like, during COVID, when everybody was masked up, like spiritually be masked up, energetically be masked up. And then once you get from around them, detox. And then once you detox, infuse yourself with good things to replace it. So it's like, we know that vitamin C is a great thing for your immune system. So if you're around a whole bunch of sick people, what would you do? You would take steps to protect yourself while you are in the environment. So for me, that would be crystals. That would be different things that block other people's energy from even affecting my energy. And that's my first layer of defense. But if that does not work, you come home and then you wash, you cleanse. You can smudge yourself. You can get a shower with various herbs. You can do a steam. You can do a sound healing, but you need to disinfect. And so then you disinfect, and then after that, you go into, okay, well, let me bolster my immune system. So then you go and you probably eat some vitamin C, or you probably go and eat some leafy greens. So as we are existing in this world of ghetto life, everyone seems so uptight. Like in this world of ghetto life, we have to treat our temple like a temple. Treat ourselves like we are sacred, because we are. You are. You are the only you that there will ever be. Do you know how precious and rare that makes you? Do you know that if you were a metal and you were there was this limited amount of you, rarity determines value on this planet. So you are priceless, because there is, no matter how the things coalesce and all of the things, there will never be another you. So you need to start treating yourself like the precious, rare gift that you are. First quarter moon in Pisces, honor your feelings. Now, this is beautiful because this came out in the reading that we did over on TikTok, and y'all saw me shuffle these cards. But apparently as we are being at home, we also don't want to fall into the trap of getting desensitized. Because that's what happens when people are on the front lines, when people are constantly, under attack. They can become desensitized to their own feelings. So we want to make sure that we are honoring ourselves and being real about when things are overwhelming, and being real about when something did negatively affect us. Because this is the thing, pride and ego will have people so deep in denial that they can't even get to healing, because they don't even realize that they're hurt. Because their pride goes, I'm not hurt. But yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Your conscious mind just doesn't want to allow for the fact that you're hurt, because then you might have to make and take some uncomfortable steps to either protect yourself, rectify the situation, remove yourself, or something to prevent further hurt. So it's just much easier to be like, no, I'm not hurt. But that's how diseases are allowed to fester and grow. If you get a splinter and you honor the feeling of, oh, this hurts the first time that you get the splinter, and then you immediately remove the splinter. And then once again, after we remove, and then you immediately cleanse the area and then infuse it with whatever healing energies you would like to add to it, whether it's just somebody kiss the boo-boo and make it better, however you want to process it. That is going to be a much quicker healing experience than if, I don't have time to deal with this splinter right now because I'm in the middle of something. I don't have time to deal with this splinter right now because I got kids, or I got this, or I got whatever 3D thing is pulling on my energy and attention. But the splinter's still going to be there. And the thing is, it's going to get worse. The longer that you leave it in there, it's going to get more painful. The possibility for overreach, for larger complications that didn't have to be had if it was addressed when it was still in its inception stage. And so that's why honoring your feelings is important. It's so that you can have, it's like steam when it builds up. Honoring your feelings is like having a little release valve on steam. And what that allows is, it allows for the energy to be dealt with in small, manageable increments. But if you are not allowing the energy to escape in small, manageable increments, it is going to build, and the pressure is going to compound. And then one day it's going to explode. And that is going to require much more. It's like the difference between doing maintenance on your car and waiting to fix it once something gets broke. If you keep your car well maintained, then you will not necessarily have to deal with the things that come from neglect, from the problems that come from neglect. The problems that come from neglecting your feelings are things ranging from health issues. So many people who think that they have physical ailments are really just dealing with undiagnosed, unmoving energy within themselves that is not helpful. Not honoring your feelings can, just on a basic level, can cause a buildup of stress, which can raise your blood pressure, which can lead to heart disease and all sorts of other issues in terms of your circulatory system, your body being able to be oxygenated with blood. So honoring your feelings is the first step. That's why we have nerve endings. That's why touch is even a sensation, because feeling is an alert. It is an alert. You feel something, that is your brain automatically reacts and starts making a plan. It is our way of interacting with our outside environment, and understanding how it is affecting us. Your feelings are a barometer and a map for how the outside world is affecting you. Like how you go outside and you feel hot, that's a barometer for how the outside world is affecting you. So when you go around a person and you feel like a little, oh, really, or you go into an environment and you go, you have to honor that feeling. Trust that feeling. Don't dismiss yourself and gaslight yourself and be like, well, it's nothing consciously that I can see that's going on here that is the cause of this feeling that I'm feeling, so I'm going to ignore it. Okay. Yeah, that's probably the same thing that Jeffrey Dahmer's neighbors did. Like, it's important to trust those little gut feelings. I swear it's important to trust those little gut feelings. That could be the difference between life and death. We were on here last time and we were talking about how, during 9/11, some people listened to that. Some people honored the feeling of disquiet that they had within themselves. Some people honored that little turn in their stomach that said, I don't think I should do this today. But some people felt that feeling, but then overrode it with their conscious mind, because whatever 3D ego thing they were scared of losing or not having, whether it was money, whether it was the job opportunity, whether it was whatever, that they suppressed that feeling for their rational mind, that was not a good thing. Our thoughts are meant to work in tandem with our feelings, but we have been taught that, everything is supposed to be your brain. Your brain is supposed to, make all the decisions, and you can't, trust your heart to make decisions, and like all of these things. But it is supposed to be in tandem. You're not supposed to be completely logical or completely emotional. You are supposed to be making decisions in tandem with those. And I know that it can be difficult to hold multiple factors and then also give weight to those factors. Like, well, if this job is making me miserable and I hate it, but then I'm also thinking about all the 3D things. We also want to make sure that as we are dealing with this Gemini energy, that we are, when we talk about creating a home within ourselves, that also means within our mental space, which means that your mental space should not be a hostile. Your mental space should be a welcoming environment that is a safe space for problem solving, because that is what your mind is supposed to do. Now, the problem is that problem solving has multiple steps. And the first step to solving a problem is identifying that there even is a problem. And a lot of times people get stuck in that step, and all they can do is identify problems, because fear keeps you in this frequency where you cannot see anything but the problems. You can't see any possible solutions. And every possible solution that your brain can think of is then going to be inundated with fears and with potential reasons why it might not. And so that is why we want to make sure that we are using our mental energies, our mental faculties for good, to create the things that we want to see in this reality. There's a Diana Ross interview where she's talking about how when you create a positive thought, your brain automatically creates a negative thought. And so since both of those things exist, which one wins? It's like you have two wolves within you. Which one you feed? Which one you feed wins. So if you feed the negative thought and you go, and then you allow that negative thought to make you feel like whatever negative response you are imagining is already happening, then yeah, you are halfway to creating that scenario. You already feel like it. It's already real in your mind. Whereas you have the equal amount of power to make the positive thing real in your mind. You could be like, yeah, and think about all the ways that the positive thing could go right, and then all of the things that you could do as a result of the positive thing. So it is really, we are in that Gemini twin energy. So it's like, which twin are you going to be allowed to take the lead? Which aspect of yourself is it going to be? The higher vibrational parts of yourself that operates on the frequency of love and understands and knows that we are infinitely provided for, that the world is abundant, and that everything that is for you will always be for you, and that you are perfect, just, yeah. Or are we going to lean in to the twin that's very much fearful and is like, oh, have you heard about the latest thing that they're doing in the world? And I'm worried about, and what if I lose my job? And what if I get it? And I am not being dismissive. I am someone who has struggled with anxiety, with depression for a decade, a solid decade of depression and anxiety completely being my operating system. So as I'm saying all these things to you, I am saying this as someone who has went through this process, who's on the other side of it, but then also who is in the trenches still, because our work is never over. Work it harder, make it better, move it faster, makes it stronger. Harder, better, faster, stronger. Like, now that it don't kill me, can only make me stronger. Like, it could all be so simple. All right, last guy. This also came out in our reading over on TikTok. So if any of you guys don't follow me on TikTok, please do. I will put the link in the description. Kinetic Media. You can also search Ema X. I'm sure it'll pop up. Follow me also on the Instagrams. There's stuff over there. But find a balance. We're talking about this dualistic. We're talking about this twin energy. Find a balance. And it's ironic that we're doing this on a new moon, and it's like the sun. And the sun and the moon are a perfect example of harmonious balance, because both are necessary. They both occupy different spaces in time, and they ebb and flow against each other throughout the year. So it goes, summer solstice, longest day. Equinox, equal. Winter solstice, longest night. Equinox, equal. And so there's something to be said for the beauty of that dance, for the beauty of that balance, and for the beauty of that cycle, and how sometimes we can feel like things are out of balance, but it's only because we are in a particular part of the cycle and we haven't reached the part of the cycle where, we see the balance being restored, and we are entering into energy spaces and time period where the balance is being restored. Now that looks hella chaotic. It's like when, Anakin restored balance to the Force in Star Wars. It was not cute. Like, wars happened, like things had to happen. Shout out to Pluto in Aquarius, which is, look it up. But we want to make sure that we are finding a balance between our light and our dark side, and honoring our dark side also, because there's a quote that's like, your anger is the part of you that cares about you the most. Like, your anger, just like your feelings are, like, your physical sensations are a barometer, your emotional sensations are also a measure for how you are being treated. And your anger is simply a response that's telling you that somewhere a boundary has been violated. Now, you don't have to act on that anger, and that's where the balance comes in. It goes, oh, be aware of it, feel the feeling, honor it, take the information that you need from it. Oh, I did not like that. And then it is Gemini season. Speak on it. Speak on it. And allow for the opportunity for the problem to be solved. If the problem cannot be solved, then remove yourself. It is very, very simple. But the problem is that people get attached to one side. They get attached to their light side. They get attached to their dark side. And so they don't understand how to necessarily toggle between the two, or when it's necessary to toggle between the two. And that is just, that is a trial and error process, like, alchemizing with herbs, and, learning which herbs do which things and which herbs work best for your body. It's going to be the same thing. Which way of protecting your boundaries honors you the most? It's going to feel different if you're a fire sign versus you're a water sign. It's going to feel different if you're, and that's also going to depend on what your Mars sign is in, which is how you deal with action, but also, that war energy. And so there's so many different things that go into you, that go into the science and the creation of you, which is why know thyself is really the purpose of being here. We have gotten caught up in a whole bunch of stuff, but it's more so just to be like, okay, how does this work? How does this work in relation with the natural world? How does this work in relation with the people around me? And how can I optimize this energy system so that we are minimizing friction, which is just a loss of energy? Let's think about it in terms of physics. Shout out to all of my engineers. If we are building a system, then the goal is to make the system as frictionless as possible, which means as harmonious as possible, as many parts working in tandem, flowing smoothly as possible. But you need to know how those parts work. You need to know how you work. You need to know how you respond when you're very, very angry. You need to know whether you are petty or not. You need to know whether you are the type and you have to stop yourself from punching people, or you're the type who would never even imagine punching somebody. There are tons of different people on the planet, and there is no one way to do anything. There are overarching principles that can be applied, but within those, there are interchangeable dynamics based on what's going to work for you. Some people are queer and poly. Some people are pansexual and monogamous. Some people, and you would think that that sounds crazy. How you pansexual and monogamous? Because just because I'm attracted to everybody doesn't mean that I need to have one of each in order to feel sustained within my relationship. Just like, there are people. It is a choose your own adventure novel. You can really live how you want. You want to be a vegetarian? Cool. You want to eat meat? Cool. You want to smoke weed? Cool. You want to do coke? Cool. The problem is when people let those things bleed out from themselves and affect other people in their environments. If you know that an environment isn't, like, if you going to the church function, you might not want to toke up there. Or if you don't give a fuck, then you just have to deal with the backlash. For everything, turn. There is a season, turn. It takes all kinds to make a world. There's somebody out there for everybody. Insert cliche phrase. You know what I'm saying? But essentially it all boils down to what's in your wallet? Like, what like, if attention is the currency of the universe, what are you doing with your purchasing power? Um, are you using it to intake uplifting materials, create uplifting materials, going out into the world and doing things tangibly to uplift people, even if it's just smiling at somebody, even if it's just giving change to, a unhomed person? How are you choosing to be the change? Or, we also need people being a change in other places. Are you one of those people who's out there physically putting your body in the line, in the way of, fighting ICE? Are you one of the people who's directly combating legislation and processing? And like, it takes all kinds. The problem is that we feel like everybody should be doing everything, and that's not everybody's purpose. Some people is not the type to write their congressman, but they will go out and, physically feed the homeless, where there are people who will write a letter to their congressman but won't go out and physically feed the homeless. All of the ways of contributing good and light to this reality are equally valid. You just have to find which way works for you. And be at home within yourself and not allow the negatives of the environment, or the perceived negatives of the environment, to negatively influence you. This has been beautiful. I'm super grateful for this. I hope that everyone who is meant to come across this comes across it. I hope that everyone who is meant to receive it receives it. I'm starting to be okay with the fact that sometimes these messages will, interconnect. Because, it's like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, want to be done with those energies, want to be on to the next. But this is the thing, like, we are a collective and everybody is moving through these energies at different pace. So if something comes through in a reading that also came through in a reading last month, that doesn't make the reading not valid. It just means that maybe somebody needs to hear it again. Maybe somebody's going to hear it in this reading who is never going to listen to that other reading. And so just being okay with what comes through, being okay with, and trusting myself, trusting my intuition, and not worrying so much about all of the what ifs. I just realized I have not been looking at the chat at all. I have not been looking at the chat at all. Have y'all been talking? Oh no. All right, well, shout out to everybody who tuned in. Shout out to everybody who's going to tune in. I'm super grateful for you guys and these times that we get to spend together. I'm grateful that I had the energy today to not only do this reading for you guys, but also a weekly reading over on TikTok. Yeah, so grateful, and yeah, be blessed, be well, be naturally you. Go out and get some sun. Have a wonderful week. Yeah, and also, I don't know, if anybody hasn't read The Alchemist, that would probably be a good book to use, since Alchemist is that jumped out to me. I was like, hey guys, do we have any messages that I'm missing out on or that I'm leaving out? And so if you haven't read The Alchemist, that is an excellent start to reframing your existence and understanding some of the preconceived notions that we have, and just getting a little bit of a different perspective. The Alchemist is a great book for that. And if anybody else has some book recommendations about books that help them along their spiritual journey, I have other ones that I feel like I could mention, but I feel like those are like a little bit more advanced. Like, I can't just start people out on like the Tao of physics, because unless you have a firm understanding in physics and like Eastern religious principles, you probably not going to be able to get as much from that as you would if you did it after previous study. So yeah, I would recommend starting out with The Alchemist. It's not dense in terms of, it is very reader friendly, and it is very beginner spirituality friendly. It leans into uh, it leans into conversational style writing. It leads into storytelling as a method of relating spiritual principles, which is a tale as old as time. But as opposed to some more non-fictional texts, which can be a little sterile, which can be heavy on precise language, specialized terms that if you don't have a background in and they're just using them all willy-nilly, you will not understand, and it can be discouraging and make you feel like, I don't even know. Now, I'm the type of person that I would just Google whatever it is that I didn't understand and maybe go down a whole separate rabbit hole, end up reading a book about that and then doubling back. But I like to know stuff, specifically why. So that is, in me knowing that about myself, I understand that is how far I go for information when I find it to be enriching and interesting. But not everybody is an independent study person. Some people need a tutor. You know what I'm saying? And that is okay. We're all at different stages within this journey, but the goal is always for everybody to be a proficient learner on their own, which is why these are called riffs, because reading is fundamental. And, as much as reading books, being able to read yourself, being able to read your own internal world is incredibly important. That's another part of honoring your feelings, because a lot of times people don't even know what they're feeling. They don't even understand what the emotion is, because it's multi-layered and it's complex. And on one layer, they can think that they're really, angry, but it might just be grief deep, deep down, or it might just be sadness deep, deep, deep down. And so that is why it is important to be able to read yourself, which is why all of the different divination systems have value. Whether you are a person who likes to use I Ching, whether you are a person who likes to throw bones, whether you are a person who likes to go to church and get a prophetic word from your preacher, there is all sorts of ways that we tap into the etheric places, the spaces, whether you go and get oracle card readings from people like yours truly, or whether you pull your own cards, or any combination of the two. All that, the goal of all of those things is just being able to more deeply understand ourselves, the energies moving around us, so that we can once again create that system that operates in perfect harmony with no loss of energy. So I hope everybody is, be blessed, be well, be naturally you. I'm up off here.